Mega Marino. His name is Mega Marino.
Mega Man 3 Search Snake, originally given to you by Snake Man. When fired, it shoots a snake-like projectile that hovers the floor, can also cling to the walls, and does not cling to the ceiling. Sometimes slippery search snakes scale stairs slowly. Search Snake isn't the worst weapon against enemies, but it's also not the best. It does fire the same as Mega Buster, and you can have 3 on screen at once, but you really have to get anticipation shots and kind of match this weapon ahead of the enemies for full use. Search Snake can also help you see in the dark. As shown here, you can just shoot it, it will scale the floors, and it will just show you where you're going. This really helps for pits and spike traps. There are some fancy interactions with Search Snake involving puzzles and on-off switches, but the real best use of this weapon is chasing the weapon itself. You actually chase the snake as you shoot it, and it's really fun. Mega Man 3 Needle Cannon, originally given to you by Needle Man. Shown here is the Mega Buster taking out a 1 health enemy, a 3 health enemy, and an 8 health enemy. Now, Needle Cannon is probably one of the worst weapons in the game. It only does half a point of damage, and you're going to see here that it takes a long time for the needle to actually proc as damage over time and kill these enemies. However, it does one-shot needle cannons. Needle Cannon is a very straightforward weapon. It mainly just fires a projectile and you can wave it up and down by jumping. But there's a special interaction in which you can shoot it off an enemy and it drops through a floor. Here's Needle Cannon shown at ×2 speed with the button held in, so I'm just walking and auto-firing. And notice, even if the weapon was like this in the current game, it takes way too long to kill enemies. Overall, I would say Needle Cannon is not a great damage weapon, but it has really cool gimmicks like this that you can shoot boss projectiles into the floors or walls. Pretty cool concept. Mega Man 3 Spark Shot, originally given to you by Sparkman, fires a projectile that also does damage over time. Shown here is the Mega Buster taking out a 1 health enemy, a 3 health enemy, and an 8 health enemy. If you were to use Spark Shot to take out these exact same 3 enemies, you would have to actually wait for 3 ticks of damage, 7 ticks of damage, and 18 ticks of damage. Each individual tick of damage does less than half of 1 Buster Shot. This weapon is terrible. And just so the math checks out, Big Eyes normally die in 20 Buster Shots, but here's a fast-forwarded Big Eye that dies in 45 hits. Even though it's not the best damage weapon in the game, Spark Shot's pretty good for utility and electrocuting objects and pulling crates. Spark Shot can also help you see in the darkness. When you shoot it, it illuminates a little path in front of you. But guess what? This weapon is still shockingly bad. Mega Man 3 Top Spin, originally given to you by Top Man, lets Mega Man spin for 2 damage and is one of the better Mega Man 3 weapons. Top Spin is one of the more unique weapons in Mega Man Maker, as it's way different than originally in Mega Man 3. In this game, you can top spin for 2 damage and spin on enemies. Super OP. There's a variety of enemies in Mega Man Maker, and most of them you can just kind of top spin on, hold right, and just spin to win, and it feels really good. Top Spin also works pretty well with objects and interactions, such as buttons, on-off switches, and you can even ride up plant platforms. It's really fun. One of the most satisfying things to do in the game is kill bosses with Top Spin. You can just kill Chargeman by juking, winning a bunch of 50-50s here, which is quite challenging and fun. Or if you know the boss pattern well enough, you can kind of cheese some bosses and just simply spin to win. Spin to win. Mega Man 3 Shadow Blade, originally given to you by Shadow Man, has one of the best sound effects in the game. Shadow Blade can shoot in every direction like Metal Blade except down, down left, and down right. Shadow Blade only uses weapon energy once you fire it 2 times. Every Shadow Blade does 2 damage each, and you can just kind of spam it in enemy's face and they go down really quickly. This weapon really shines when there's enemies in the air. You can do a neutral shot directly above your head or get some nice angle shots. You can also use diagonal shots against jumping enemies. Against objects, Shadow Blade is also pretty good, as it fires diagonally and right above your head, so most objects can just kind of be sniped from a distance. It feels really good to snipe things at maximum range. Shadow Blade really comes in handy against annoying enemies that hang out in the air, like Springman, Shademan, Astroman, and Sheepman. It speeds up the fight, and if you miss a shot, you might still hit anyway.
Ninja style.
Mega Man 3 Magnet Missile, originally given to you by Magnet Man, fires a magnet-shaped homing projectile for 2 damage. Magnet Missile has 28 weapon energy. Every time you shoot a Magnet Missile, you use 2 weapon energy, so you essentially have 14 hits, which is just enough to take care of most enemies in the game. Whenever there's enemies on screen, Magnet Missile will always home into the first available enemy, so it's really good at shooting in the air. The lazy man's weapon. Magnet Missile is one of the best Mega Man 3 weapons simply because of its convenience and DPS. You can just spam the weapon and it will automatically home into the first available target and just wipes them out. There are also tons of kinda cute interactions you can do with hitting buttons and switches and forcing some pretty cool setups with Magnet Missile. And more importantly, you can force overhead since you can't normally shoot horizontally. This Magfly actually lets us shoot the blocks above our head. Great weapon. Subscribe for more. Mega Man 3 Gemini Laser, originally given to you by Gemini Man, fires a laser projectile that bounces around the room and deals 6 damage. It's made up of 4 separate pieces of durability, dealing 1.5 damage each, and it can obliterate everything in its path. Gemini Laser destroys things in sets of 4, as it eats up 4 durability at a time, and also will bounce around the room 12 times before disappearing. You can also spam this weapon in the corner and get some really good angle shots. Gemini Laser deals 6 damage and passes through enemies on kill. By far most damaging Mega Man 3 weapon. This weapon destroys everything in the game. Watch how we just do 76 damage in 5 seconds. Literally. That's a lot of damage. This weapon is so busted, it actually shoots out of bounds, clips through the wall, and fires little tiny petite Gemini lasers that do just as much damage as the big ones. It's crazy. Subscribe for more. Mega Man 3 Hard Knuckle, originally given to you by Hardman, fires a big blue fist for 3 damage. You can also angle this weapon up in the air and down in the air. Hard Knuckle's a great damage weapon, but man is it slow. It has a 14-frame startup. Hard Knuckle's projectile does 3 damage, and the durability on this thing is absolutely nuts. We use 1 fist and kill all of these enemies and only use 2 weapon energy, but you do have 14 hits total. Hard Knuckle has an interaction where you can actually juggle it off of enemies and hit objects with it. It's one of the hardest weapons in the game, as you have to split your brain in half, control the fist with one half of your brain, and Mega Man with the other. It is very hard, man. It's easy to overlook, but you can actually use Hard Knuckle to stall and dodge bullets. Shoot right before you get hit and dodge. Also, with fast cancels, you can stall in the air for a really long time, but it's hard. Subscribe for more. God damn it, dude.
Mega Marino. His name is Mega Marino.